Welcome to the Love That Guy podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Ronnie Gene Blevins.
And this is Brendan Reynolds.
He got third, all for billing at the end of each picture. That don't really mean much, he would say with a grin. But he held my hand tight when he poured his name out. Only 4 or 5 names down below Errol Flynn.
We are the show that celebrates the journeyman actors, the actors we all know and love, and even though we might not always know their names, we inevitably see them in film and television and think to ourselves, love that guy. Hey, Bubba, how you doing, man?
Oh, Ronnie, what's up? That was a awesome chat with the great Michael Cudlitz.
Yeah, man. We always do this. Like we go into we do the for our listeners, we do the interview and then we keep recording and then we do the intro. So we can have it fresh. Yeah, man, Michael's great, right? Isn't he great?
Yeah, he's what a cool, like down to earth, like humble guy, you know? Like it's refreshing to hear somebody with like a real everyman point of view. And he suffers no fools, obviously.
Yeah. Also the like quintessential like actor who has not necessarily had a linear path. You see these peaks and valleys, these incredible successes, and then it's like shit. I don't think he might have gotten Southland when he was 40.
Yeah, I was looking at he guest starred for 10 years, and then he Band of Brothers. I think he was like in his mid 30s.
Yeah, but he also speaks about how he early on he picked up this other trade that he loved and building shit,
right.
and that was like something he would do in the interim. Sometimes he'd do them at the same time, And,
that was nice. That was an insightful little nugget there about how to keep yourself afloat spiritually and mentally and all that.
Yeah, well, it's like an industry of artists that think that their side job or the job they have before they start working has to be shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not necessarily. So I think it was pretty insightful, and I love Michael, and thank you guys all for listening. Hopefully you'll like and subscribe and do all that stuff. Comment, share it with a friend. We do have a Patreon page now, and you can go to that. I believe it's www.patreon.com/lovethatguy. I could be wrong about that, but you could also find it on our socials.
Yeah, we might have some different kind of content and some different stuff offering there, right?
We do. Yeah, for sure. So go to the page, check that out. We appreciate y'all's support. And all right, everyone, much love.
Awesome. Enjoy.
All right. Today's guest is a force of nature and a bad motherfucker. With grit and moxie, this man takes us back to a bygone era of Hollywood. If you think this career came easy to this man, then you're dead wrong. Everything he got on the backs of patience and hard work. We loved him as Sergeant Abraham Ford in The Walking Dead. We loved him as John Cooper in Southland, with kick-ass performances and a presence that demands attention and embodies the spirit of the classic tough guy actor with pathos. Welcome to the show, one of my favorite actors, Michael Cudlitz. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How are you?
Good, man. I'm really, really good. It's been a while.
It has been. You're kicking ass though. You don't stop working.
I think you're talking about yourself. I mean, you know how that goes. There's an illusion of that. Of course, in our business, if you're just working like a month out of the year, then it's like, oh man, he works all the time.
Well, you're either on something or got something on its way out. So that's what we want it to be going.
Where are you? Where are you in LA right now?
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm home for a minute.
Yeah.
Which has been nice. As you know, we travel a lot and work is moving all over the world, all over the country. The companies are chasing those tax breaks, and we get to go with them for better or worse.
Yeah.
But I've been home since April, basically.
Yeah.
a long time for me. So my wife has probably loved it, and now she's probably hoping I get I get to chase my own tax break.
Ready to book something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We have an 8-year-old boy, so when I leave, it's like I call. I'm like, are you guys okay? I really miss you. And my wife's like, we're fine. This is we get into a rhythm just fine when you're gone.
House is quieter.
Yeah.
Probably one person in charge. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not the indigestion coughs and burps and the man noises. She's like, my wife's like, I've never seen so many noises. Someone who's just kind of standing up.
Have you guys figured out the re-entry when you come back into town, and when you first came back into town, you were trying to help,
right?
You realize that your help is would be better off not helping.
Just take out the garbage and chill out.
Yeah, well, I'm learning. Are you guys empty nesters?
No, we're not. My son is out of the house. My daughter's still in the house.
Okay.
They were in the middle of college when COVID hit, so they got their asses kicked by COVID in a way I think that none of us did. With that. For those that choose to go to college, that transition of being away from home, and that's an important thing, whatever that thing is for you, whether it be college or going out and doing your own job or moving out of the house into another city, and then to sort of get kicked back into the house and have that kind of jump start. And college took longer, and then you're wind up graduating from reading the material at home as opposed to being in school. It was what neither of them hoped for, but I think we're on the other side of all that. But it was a whole generation that got pretty messed up by that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was pretty intense. I mean, this is like their entry into, okay, this is their time to be an adult, right? It's like, oh, is this going to be the new world? We had no context for this back then. It's like, so I want to go back just a little bit. So you went to CalArts, right?
Yep.
And what was the curriculum like there? Was it like, do you still reflect back up and use a lot of the stuff you learned there? Or was it like?
I do. For me, it was very interesting. I wound up transferring into CalArts as a second-year student. It's a 4-year program from the undergrad and a 3-year program for grad, I think, maybe 2.
Okay.
And what happened is you have to be there at least 3 years. So I'd gone to City College, and I was going to transfer into a college at some point. Let me back up a little bit. I was going to college for engineering. I was going to City College, and I was going to get an engineering degree. It's going to be my backup. The acting didn't work out because it was like, it wasn't even if the acting didn't work out. Acting wasn't really on the radar as a profession, because when I grew up in New Jersey, in Lakewood, New Jersey, it was a pretty blue collar town. I mean, you go get a job, and one of those jobs, on that list is an actor. It's like, go get a fucking job. Like that was the attitude, and that's the attitude you sort of you grow up with. So you're kind of like, even you think acting is not a real job. People are like, what, later in career, what do you do? And I wouldn't even tell people I was an actor. My wife's like kicking me under the table. It's like, what the fuck do you tell people what you do?
Yeah.
So, going to school for engineering, I wind up, my dad walks in one day on me, and I'm doing my proof, which I'm drawing a bolt or something in 3 dimensions. I don't even know exactly what it was. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm doing my homework. And he says, no, well, like, what are you doing? What do you want to do? I go, well, I'm going to go, I'm going to transfer out, go to find a good engineering school and transfer out. That's my, sort of my backup. And he's like, well, you have a backup. You learned how to make furniture and build things with me, with woodworking. You have a backup. You love doing it. Go pursue your thing, this. And so I wound up quitting school the next day. Finishing out the semester, and my dad's like, "Okay, now what the fuck are you doing? Like, what do you mean you just quit?"
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm gonna going to apply to art school. He's like, that's great. You could have finished out the semester, you know, like you've gotten those credits. I said, okay, but I got a new plan. One of getting accepted to CalArts, and everything that I'd done in undergrad pretty much took care of all my prerequisites. So all my general education stuff was taken care of. And I really only needed 2 more years of school for typical bachelor's degree. But because it was an art school and there was a program, I had 3 years. So I had 1 or 2 classes that I had to finish that were part of their program, that were part of the general education stuff. It was like history of art and stuff like that. It was all based on what I loved doing. So it was really effortless to do those classes. And then the next 3 years, I was able to just focus on acting. And by that, I mean, I was really in, you know, doing a play that was going to be put up for production, and then doing 3 or 4 different short projects or scenes during the whole time I was there. So you're continually getting material and performing it.
Right.
And the whole time, you know, you're studying, you know, different methods of how people work. You're finding your own method. You're doing mask work. You're studying Stanislavski. It's just on and on the exposure you're getting, and basically through all of that, you build your own way of working.
Yeah.
And that's what I did there. Because some people say, you know, what do you rely on, or who have you studied? And it's like we had the wonderful opportunity to study everyone.
Yeah.
And then, even more importantly, which a lot of people don't get to do, is we got to do it like constantly.
Yeah.
So much so that there were people who were in the program that by the end of the program, they were like, yeah, I'm done. I don't see myself doing this.
Oh, wow. Which
They gave it up, and not in a shitty way. It's sort of like coming to, you know, whatever, process all their demons, you know.
Yeah, man.
It worked so much, because that's a little bit of what goes on. I think is a lot of self-examination and putting yourself through those roles and figuring out your system and how you fit in society and how this role applies to you. And it's in a lot of ways, it's an incredibly self-indulgent process, and I think it needs to be done well.
Yeah.
You know, people talk a lot about, you know, they'll say, you know, that guy's an egomaniac. Well, yeah, he's a fucking actor. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of a given, and not in a shitty way. It's like the most amazing performances that you have ever enjoyed were performed by somebody who was incredibly, incredibly into themselves, in the sense of trying to figure out some major shit in their life.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
And that's part of what you're watching, you know, the humanity unfolding, you know, if you will, when it's done right, you know.
I agree.
And then I think if you continue out of that, you sort of get a handle on that, and you can kind of look back and use things that you have processed, and then you're able to move forward, I think, in a healthier way.
Yes.
But I think it all stems from, you know, working your shit out.
Yeah, man.
And that's what we did.
You're finding this inspired sense of purpose as a young man. You're here. I was like, oh, this is it. I love this. Right. When you're
well, I 100% loved it. I met my wife in school. We've been getting ready to celebrate our 34th wedding anniversary, end of September, 38 years together. But we met at CalArts, and it's my best friend and actress at the time. And, you know, so all the most wonderful things that I had, you know, discovered about myself and my work and my life came from CalArts, you know. For me, it was an incredible experience that I think of often. I go back and look at notes all the time. We had a lot of wonderful script analyzing classes. And I'll go back to that work, because everything was, when you really get down to it, comes back to story and character.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Those questions you want to ask yourself and those things you want to look out for never really change. The answers change, but the questions very much stay the same. And CalArts was huge because, again, just the exposure that I had to it, you know, and yeah, for me, it worked out, you know. I started working pretty soon after I got out of school. Was really hanging around LA to wait for my wife to finish school because she started 2 years after me.
Right.
Thought we'd both wind up in New York somewhere, trying to do theater, doing whatever we had to do to get by. And then I started working in LA, just what I used to call haircut parts. I was a big guy with a flat top, and I played a lot of guys with monosyllabic names, Biff, Dirk.
Yeah.
And that represented pretty much the work. You'd come in and grunt, hit somebody and walk off. It was all pretty basic stuff, but not in the plan. Again, never, ever said I want to be in film and television. It was not even an option, because I was never exposed to it. And it was certainly something we never did as kids, making home movies or anything like that.
Wow. Interesting.
Never. And so if you would have told me, even when I was 23, 24, going through school, hey, you're going to be in film and television, I would have thought you were out of your mind. Like completely.
Is that why I see when I paint this picture, kind of looking at your filmography, it seems like you're late 20s. You got some credits under your belt. You're doing some things. I see that you work as a lead man, a carpenter on 90210, right? Was that kind of a conscious, well, I can do this and it'll float me, or was that like 1 foot in, 1 foot out?
It was at that time I was doing the construction as my second job,
Right.
because I paid my way through school doing construction for film and television.
Yeah.
And then when I got out, I had hooked up with some of the guys who were in the technical side of theater, who had started taking, because the program was starting to make a move into film. And one of my best friends, still to this day, Lars Peterson, he was like, you know more about construction than most of the guys that I have been studying construction with. So I got this gig, you want to come over and, make some money. So I was able to really just keep myself going. And the money was great at the time. We're talking, I graduated CalArts in 87. So this would have been 88, 89, and, making $250 cash a day.
Yep.
I mean, that was huge. I at the time I had to work the minimum, obviously you have to eat and pay for everything else, but 2 days of work paid for my rent. I had to, work. If I worked at least, a week, my month was great. And I was working full time. And they were allowing me to come and go. These are all my theater buddies from CalArts who are now building in film and television. So they knew what my deal was. We got along great. They're like, yeah, go do your auditions. So I had this sort of like amazing situation, surrounded by friends and people who knew what my, dream was at that point, because my dream was shifting.
Yep.
And were just there to support me. And this, stuff that I learned from my dad, the woodworking and stuff, put me in a place where I was an asset to them. So they were willing to, say, hey, he's not going to be here for, a few hours each week, but we get him the rest of the time, and we all get to benefit from that. And I got the most benefit because it kept me here.
Yeah. Do you but at some point clearly the brass or the above the line at 90210 are getting whispers. Well, Michael's actually an actor too. He's a good actor, because you end up being on the show. How does that happen?
That actually comes the other way. I had a meeting with them. They had heard that I was an actor. They knew I was going out and auditioning, and they pulled me in for a meeting with Dookie Vincent, Paul Wagner. And they were like, we know you're an actor, but just so you know, you cannot be in our show. It's a conflict of interest.
You're like, I didn't ask.
Well, apparently my stuff had been being sent in, and Diane Young had been sending it and saying, hey, we should read him. And they were just tired of hearing about it, I guess. And then A River Unstirred comes out.
Yep.
And they're having trouble casting this episode, the steroids episode on Beverly Hills 90210. They're having a hard time fighting, according to them, big guys who look young, who can act. And so we get another meeting where they call me in and they're like, "Hey, we saw that River and Surah came out and you're in it." I'm like, yeah. It's like, I'm an actor. Yeah, we talked about this. It's like, yeah, but we didn't know you were really an actor. Everybody says they're an actor. We just were like, we didn't want people thinking that they're working on crew. They could just, anyway, but we really want you to do this episode. And I was like, well, I thought it was a conflict of interest. See, now I'm fucking with them. I thought it was a conflict of interest. And like, well, yeah, not really. It's just, we were just trying to keep a handle on everything. But you have credits and
Interesting.
Do this. So yeah. So I wound up doing, I don't know the exact numbers, like 12 or 14 episodes.
Wow.
I was friends with everybody on the crew and the cast. So it was a really comfortable situation, but it was weird. I'm working on set and, I'm the construction coordinator at the time. So I'm trying to save money. So I realize I'm the one going out to this location. I'm going to be working as an actor all day, but I don't have to send, another couple of guys out to strike the set. I only need to send one guy and a driver because I can help. So I take my wardrobe and then I'm tearing the set apart and everybody's just like, what the fuck is happening? Like,
what a great, you get to do two things you love.
But exactly. And that was the thing, and when I talk to young actors about this, I say, look, you need to find something that you love to do while you're waiting to do the thing you really love to do. Said there's no way that you don't have something else that you enjoy doing. Like, I get it. And it's like, and if you don't love it, if you can do something else and you find something else you love and you won't miss acting, please, for your own sanity, go do that.
Yeah, man.
You'll only be doing this if you cannot do anything else. And then you find the other thing that you can do that you love to support yourself while you're doing it. Because then you're going to be in a better mood. Nobody wants to spend 14 hours on a set with somebody who's like just an annoying fucking shitbag when they come into an audition and they're just up your ass. Like stop it. I get it. Like, I more than get it.
Yeah.
Those feelings are real, but you need to present yourself as somebody who people can spend time with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's a very human, very technical element to all this. And it's like you just need to be there and you look, you can be into yourself, you can be into the process, you can be weird or quirky or whatever, but you need to be an accessible human.
Yep.
So you can survive the business end of this, unless that one deep guy or gal who hits it and nobody gives a shit. But you know what? Generally speaking, that's the friggin' unicorn.
That's the unicorn.
You need to be like somebody who is, I don't even want to say likable because it doesn't even be likable, but you can't be someone people don't like.
Yeah. I mean,
wherever that fits.
There's a lot of great actors, man, and
yeah.
If someone's reflecting upon the time that they worked with these two actors and they're both equally as talented and equally as right for the part, they're going to go with a guy that made them smile,
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think that we're probably going to capture that bit you just said. It's something that I never really found. So my years have been marked with like success and just devastation because I never found that I never found that other thing that made me happy. But this isn't about me. You once,
but in a way it is because people relate to that. And my answer to that would be keep looking. In the sense of like, and people who are starting out, because you're at a very different place now than someone who's just starting out. You just are. You don't have to. I don't care your opinion on what I just said. You are. So,
yeah.
There are people who are starting out who are gonna get one gig and then maybe not get another gig for 2 years. And you got to do two things. You got to survive to stay here. Like you need to be in one of the cities where the work is that is at your level happening. And that would be right now, probably just throwing off the top of my head right at the moment, it would be LA, Atlanta, or New York. Right. One of those bases, you need to be able to survive. And the second thing you need to be able to do is you need to be uh, not happy, but you need to be someone who is at a place where if you are brought in to audition or to do something, you're capable of doing the work.
Yeah.
And that mentally, physically, you're there. You can't be so fucking stressed out that, you can be, but you're not going to get the job. Because people steal it the minute you walk in the room. I've been fortunate enough. I've started directing now. I see it.
Yep.
See the desperation, and I like to sort of think, well, now I'm at a place where I can identify that and go, all right, that person, like, we need to get them in the room because I need to work with them.
Yeah.
I don't think most people give you that kind of time because it requires time, and most people want something to be easy. So they're going to go for the easy thing. The person that is able to click into that material and that role and then snap back out of it and have a conversation and be calm and you're sort of like, all right, I can see, I can see myself in the room with that person, for 12, 13 hours working with them, and I'm not going to lose my mind because I have so many other things I have to be thinking about. I can't be, coaxing them along the whole time. So you need to be, in a place where you can be hired. And that means, like, you can't be so offensive, either actually or just that energy that you're getting. I don't even necessarily know if I can put, really put it into words, but everybody knows what you're talking about because you feel it. I felt it when I've been in situations where I have been, out of work on both things, and and trying to make it, because everyone thinks, oh, you don't get to have an opinion on it because you're successful now. It's like, no, I have a really strong opinion about it because I was at a place where I was really struggling and don't know where my next dollar's coming from, so I can have my next meal and I have a family to support. I'm a provider of my family, so it's a very real feeling for everyone. Those feelings are what makes it possible for you to move forward, or you're going to cash out and go do something else completely.
Yeah, I agree, and I, nobody's metal was tested like you. I know that I know how it's gone for you and how much time you put in. I also think that the actual love or lack of for the work keeps us honest, because it's like, if it's true, if the love is true, it's good news, bad news. The good news is, if the love is true, then it's going to bind you to it and you can't really go anywhere. The bad news is that if the love is true, it's going to bind you to it and you can't really go anywhere.
Yeah. And the problem with that is also, and let me also backtrack on all this. And this is the part people don't see it because they just see the little clips. I don't know shit. Like, I'm struggling through this just like fucking everybody else. And this is my opinion of what I've gone through. Everybody has their own story. So I'm not like, if you're in a shitty place, I'm not telling you don't get to like feel shitty about it. Like that's your journey. What I'm telling you is that your journey is not just your journey when you're in the film industry. Like, your journey, a lot of other people are going to be affected by your journey. So from my experience, what I was talking about before, those things are true, because I fucking hate it when actors sort of pontificate about this is the way it is, because nobody, it's like, and for every thing that I say, there's a different way. I had this wonderful opportunity. Again, we talked about River Runs Through It. I worked with Brad Pitt and Craig Sheffer. Craig Sheffer, possibly one of the most talented actors, ever, like top of the pile. And was incredible and had an incredible career when we did River Runs Through It. And Redford, it's funny, Pitt or Redford, he was really just starting out. And, we were in this distant location. It's the only one I've ever done. I don't know if you've ever done a distant.
Yeah.
They put you out. You're basically kind of being paid 24 hours a day.
No, I don't even think I've heard of that terminology.
Yeah, the distant. It may or may not even exist, but we were out at one location. It was like a 2-3 hour drive to the one location, and then they took us out of there and we went another 2 or 3. Like we were in the middle of nowhere,
Okay.
staying in these cabins, and it's me, Brad Pitt, Craig Sheffer, Rob Cox, and Buck. I don't remember Buck's name. He was the fifth kid.
Okay.
And we're chilling out, and we're all talking, sitting in the little main area of the cabin.
Yeah.
And I asked Brad, I was like, how did you get into this? And he's like, well, I was graduated high school, or I was almost graduated high school. I think he graduated. And he said, I'm just pretty sure he said he graduated high school. And then I just decided I was going to pack my car up and drive to Hollywood and become a movie star. And I'm like just out of art school, and I've done repertory theater and all this.
Yeah.
Like, at the time, I was like,
Cool.
all right, man. Like, all right, let me know how that's working out for you. No, he's already a friggin' movie star. Dumb Louise had already come out, and he was on this thing, so, and I love
Buck Simmons, by the way. Buck Simmons.
Buck Simmons, yes. Okay. Like, I'm surprised I remembered
Right.
Cox's name, and everybody else, I was kind of like you. I got Buck out. I was happy with it.
Yeah.
All good dudes, all really, really good dudes and local guys. Buck and Rob were local up in Montana.
Okay.
But I loved Pitt's work at the time, even, and I'm thinking, even then, you're reminded and on full display that your journey is your journey, and someone else's journey is their journey. And there's no right or wrong way. And if somebody tells you there's a right or wrong way, they're full of shit.
Yeah.
It's like straight up full of shit. There are obviously tested ways, or things we can say you don't want to do. You don't want to walk up to your director on the first day and punch him or her in the face. Bad. Yeah, we can agree on that, but after that, like, people have their own story, and there are suggestions that you can do, and you can go off of what works for other people. But if somebody had all the answers, they absolutely would have written a book a long time ago and made a fortune off of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So embrace your journey, but just know that, like, there are things you can do, just basic things you can do to make that journey easier.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. I think also have like a community, even if it's a text thread or whatever of actor buddies, where there's like a 80 to 20% ratio, 80% positive, 20% negative. Like I'll mention Stephen Ogg because he's a mutual friend. We'll get on the phone and I'll be like, bro, okay, let's go. We got 5 minutes. Let's just vomit all our malcontents, and then we'll get to the positive shit.
Yeah.
Community's important. Thank you for sharing all that, man. I want to know, I know we could probably spend a week on this, so forgive me if I'm kind of
No worries.
sliding through it, but does Band of Brothers change everything for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Mostly so because it raises my profile, popularity within the business.
Mm-hmm.
So people are starting to hunt me out. I had really good success prior. I was doing a lot of guest spots. If anyone's looking through my resume, most of my stuff is one-off things on, guest spots on shows. I used to joke that I had my own show, except the main cast and the crew changed every week.
I think I'm ready to look at.
I was doing like, yeah, but I was just doing, it was like I was back in school in a way. I was incredibly fortunate, but just able to play all these, amazing characters back to back. And it was another repertory school, it was just training. And then even more importantly, it was training on how to treat other people on set in a way that was respectful, but not only respectful, but it taught me how to be a better leader, a better team player. So when that time arose, where I was the person in charge, I knew the kind of person I wanted to be because I saw so many examples of amazing leaders on set and so many other examples of terrible leaders on set. I'll never forget really early on, one of my first jobs working, I was on LA Law. And I walk on the set in the morning. I'm like, good morning. And on the set, the trailer, the makeup trailer. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning. I had no idea. I was like, who doesn't say good morning? Right. Well, apparently most of that cast. And I got a lot of, hold on. And I was like, what? And I'm thinking to myself, I said, what's like, because you throw it on yourself immediately. You're like, oh, I fucked up. Like I'm the new person, so I must have fucked up. But really soon afterwards, I realized, no, these guys are just, they just were. They're just assholes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they're shitty people or they were choosing to, but they're assholes.
Yeah.
I'm coming in as a guest artist, nervous. If I was on that show, if I was one of the leads on that show, and I knew, and I said actually good morning to the guy I was working with, and I got a grumble, and I'm thinking, why would you do that? Like, why would you not be, you want to be selfish? Say good morning to me, because our scene's already going to be better because I'm going to calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
High tide rises all boats. It's like, be a cool fucking person. Be a contributing artist. Don't be an asshole.
I agree, man.
We're all here to tell this story. But the worst thing you can have in a TV show or a movie is, holy shit, man. That movie, I didn't really care for that movie, but fucking that dude was great.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so that dude was great. Yeah, the movie sucked because when everybody set out to make this thing, it wasn't about having that person be great. It was about making a great movie. You should just be like overwhelmed with holy shit and this and that. And, everything came together. If you're pulling out a specific thing because someone was great, then everything else wasn't. And
man.
That's not what we're out here to do.
Yeah. And people don't often remark about that great performance in that bad movie. Right?
No,
and I often find, and you could probably speak to this more as a director, that like if the culture on a set is a little weird and toxic, you could probably look to the above the line, the executive producers, the director. Conversely, if it's lighter, everyone's having fun, you're probably going to see that same kind of disposition amongst the brass, which is, I don't know, it just is what it is.
No, it's contagious.
Yeah.
Right. People, you sense it. You walk on set, you show up and you're like, first day, okay, we're going to the makeup trail. We're going to go do, tests and this and that. And you go, hey.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
God.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. What's going? Boom. You immediately like, okay.
Yep.
These guys have been here. They know what's going on, and you sense it. And then you'll sometimes be in a great mood, and then it'll be like someone else will walk in the trailer, and you'll see it shift.
That's exactly.
And you're like,
usually it's the number one on the call sheet. No.
Yeah. Well, it's either great shift, up, or shift to up, because it does have that much weight, and in a lot of ways, we give them that weight. My favorite thing is to sort of like take that away, take the power away, because all performers. Guess what? The deals were done before you showed up. You're already making 6 times more than me. You don't get to treat me like shit.
Yeah.
And I've had those conversations, on 1 hour shows. Won't get into who or when, but somebody was fucking mouthing off to me, and they were like, and I said I would really appreciate it if you didn't do that, and then I'd appreciate it if you kind of stopped moving while I was doing my close-up because it's distracting. I was confronted with something to the offensive, to the fact that, well, what are you going to do? I'll leave and go home and still get paid.
Yeah. Right.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need this. This is a guest spot job for me personally. This is not going to change my career. I'm excited about the character. That's why I'm here. But if you're going to be an asshole, I'll go home because you're not paying me to fucking deal with your bullshit.
Yeah. How did that work out?
It shifted very quickly. Oh no, I didn't mean that, man. Because then there are people, because then you call them out on their bullshit.
You're adding them. Yeah.
And then they're the one. It's like, oh, I mean, they look like an asshole the whole time, but now they know they look like an asshole.
Fuck, I love that.
Like the mirror.
I lose at this point in my career. I mean, I don't walk around like, looking for that. And honestly, there's a lot less of it now because the work is so intense, the page counts are so intense,
Right.
The scope of the work is so intense, and the amount of days shooting is less. Even though we have more cameras on set, it seems like there's never, the joke is when you're directing, I'm already behind on a schedule on a show that I haven't even been hired for yet. Like you're already behind. So that bullshit is tolerated a lot less. It's still there, but it's tolerated less.
Yeah, that's really great and important what you say. I want to say about Band of Brothers. What blows me away is what I can't wrap my head around is this cohesive, sort of this singular vision, but you have eight directors, 7, 8.
Yeah, maybe 7.
Right. It's almost
Like somebody directed. I think maybe Mikhail directed 2.
that seems like that.
Or David Nutter might have directed 2.
How does everyone get in and make that like seamlessly flow? Or maybe it wasn't seamless, but it seems like
it. I think it was an amazing experience, and you had a bunch of guys who were between 19 and 30, our ages, but generally speaking, young guys, sort of alpha males, actors, all ego driven, all wanting to be the guy.
Yep.
And very, very early on in the process, you saw that fall away, and we realized the project was way more important than any individual, and it was it was about the men and the families that we were representing in the project.
Thank God.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So then you had the actors talking with the actual vets at night, and as the project went on, they would open up more and more to us. Give us more information. We would take that information back into the writers. The writers would incorporate it into the scripts. We'd get some, hey, I get a phone call in the middle of the night from Frank John Hughes, who played Garnier. He's like, hey, I just got off the phone with Bill, and he said that Bull was actually in the room when that happened. We're shooting it tomorrow. Are you free? Well, I wasn't free, but I'm going to come in. So I'd show up, not even on the call sheet, go in and talk with the ADs. Hey, here's what's going on. They're like, all right, go suit up. We'd do the call. We'd call in, Tony and Tom and get everybody on the phone, and they'd all text or whatever. And then you're in the scene, a scene they didn't write you into. Nobody knew you were there. An actor found out about it the night before, called in, and then you're geared up and showing up and making it better. And that attention to detail and that care was from top to bottom. So the project very quickly became about them and not.
Yep.
Which just raised the level of everything. And we got to we had a lot of strong input, and we were encouraged to use that input. So when we had directors who were maybe a little less than in certain areas, because they were all amazing directors, but they didn't understand something was going on, we would explain, or we'd tell them, no, this is the way. And they were so open, knew what we were doing, that everybody was like, okay. So it was a very much mutual supportive situation. It wasn't like we weren't like, fuck you, we're taking over. But in a lot of ways, we were like, fuck you, we're taking over.
Yeah. Well, thank God it seemed like everyone kind of it sounds like you really lucked out, because that is a lot of people that got to get on the same page creatively, and kind of collectively step back and give ultimate reference to the piece and the men that served and the men you're honoring. So it's like, it sounds like there's a lot of luck involved there too, because all it takes is one.
Yeah, no, it is. And we had our, we had our moments with some of the guys, but it was very, it was all very appropriate, and it was all handled well. and everybody involved like knew what we were doing, and ultimately in the end, there's an agreement. We're all in touch with each other.
Yep.
We see each other every year. There's a barbecue at my house, just like the guys had. They used to have a reunion every year.
Yeah.
And anyone who's in town from the project, whether the main cast, the actors, the crew, whoever is in town who is connected with the project, they're invited. And there's between, depending upon what year it is or whatever, there's between 50 and 80 people.
Wow.
Will show. And we have a thread with there's about 11 of us, the American actors, and a couple of British actors who we got really close with. We text all the time, and it's good. It's a good time. And fun and silly and goofy, and sometimes you think you're looking into a thread, with a bunch of high school kids.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah, it degrades very quickly once business is taken care of. With a couple of the usual suspects will just spin it very, very quickly.
Oh yeah, man.
But yeah, they're a bunch of great guys, and there's not one of them who wouldn't drop everything and show up at my doorstep if needed. And same if somebody, Jimmy called me tonight and said, "Hey, I need you in New York tomorrow," I'd be there.
Yeah,
it's just it's very rare. Very rare. It's like never happens. Like this. I mean, we meet people all the time that we click with. We dig them. We have great work, and we're thinking, oh, we're going to really keep in touch. And it's very rare that you actually do, especially in a large group. Maybe one or two.
Yeah,
in touch a little bit, and you drop off, and then you're back again. But yeah, it's a rare thing. Although I've been, again, very fortunate. I have still in touch with all the Southland guys.
Yep. Yeah.
Texting with Ben yesterday. We were just talking about something stupid, and Sean about a week ago, and I talked to Regina like 3 weeks ago. So yeah.
I want to talk about Southland. I thought you were so incredible on that, and so at the time, I guess is it Chris Chulik or Ann Bitterman that's running the show when it's LAPD and it's original with
it was Ann was showrunner, but Chris was always sort of running it. Chris, just so everybody knows what it is, and I give deference to who deserves it. Chris had the idea of doing a Third Watch style show in LA, right? Open air, with the LA that he grew up, not what was the not Baywatch, not it was this show with there was a cop show. It was a bike cop
Pacific
show.
Blue.
What is it?
Pacific Blue.
Pacific Blue. Yeah, it was not Pacific Blue. It's like, okay, we're in LA, but we're not on the beach. It's not about palm trees and bikinis.
Yeah.
And that was his sort of thing. So he talked to John Wells because he was really close with John Wells. And John's like, let's do it. So they bring on Ann Bitterman, who is fucking incredible.
Yeah. And
Ann works with John and Chris, and they talk about the characters they want and how they want to structure it and this and that. And then they do they're all in the interviews with at least Chris and Ann are together doing all the interviews and everything. And then Ann goes away and writes it. And then comes back and they're noted and blah, blah, blah. So Ann wrote it. So it's a weird thing, like in the Writers Guild, and so in the writer world, Ann created it.
Right.
I would argue with love for everyone involved that Chris Chulak created it.
Right.
Ann Bitterman wrote it.
Right.
And wrote those characters, but with a lot of input from Chris and the story he wanted to tell. And I think that gets lost sometimes just because of the way that the union structures how credit is given, and somebody may have a problem with me putting it that way, but I don't really give a shit because I was there and I saw it.
Yeah.
But when we left NBC, Ann was sort of removed.
Yep.
Because they had a falling out. And I don't know the particulars of it, but they all had a falling out. I know that the scripts we always got were very, very long. when we were on NBC, like very long, like days of work was cut out of the episode because it was just too much work in there. And then I know we went to TNT. Chris became more of the showrunner in effect, but we still had a showrunner, and I think it changed between the 2 years, or 3 years that we were on, 4 years that we were on TNT.
Yeah.
But Chris ran the show. Chris ultimately became, my directing mentor. He was going to have me direct on the show. Had we another season? I never even thought about directing, and Chris was like, "You need to be directing." He goes, "Because you're already doing it when you're on set, like passively." He goes, "You have an instinct, I can tell." So he was more about me directing than I was about directing. Prior to me getting into it and thinking, "Oh, maybe there's something there."
Yeah.
He's
love that.
He's an incredible storyteller. As you know, you worked with, I think, Chris directed all of the episodes you did, right? You did two?
I came back and did one. Yeah, maybe he did. Was Guy Ferland in there? No.
Yes. Yeah.
There might have been a Guy Ferland one in there.
Yeah,
but...
yeah, Guy was in there because his wife was our script supervisor.
Okay. Does I want to ask you now, are you on Chris's radar before you, like, I mean, do you win the part in the room, or you kind of?
I win apparently. Yeah, that's the story I'm told. Yeah, I didn't know Chris. I knew Chris only as he's the guy who directed that ER episode with Clooney lifting the kid out of the water.
Right.
That poster, like 36 million people watched the episode or some shit when that was like a thing.
Yeah.
But did not know Chris prior to that. Apparently went in the room the first time and Chris was like, "That's the dude."
Wow, man.
And I never met him prior, didn't know, and then did a couple other auditions, but it was really just for, apparently, one was for Chris to introduce me to John.
Mm-hmm.
John could see who he wanted. And then the other one was just sort of, like a formality, which became, then we had to do a test for me and Ben together because there was a picture on IMDb. Again, this is what they told us. When you Google Ben McKenzie, there was a picture that used to come up. The first one that came up looked very similar to my headshot.
Oh, wow.
And NBC was like, "Well, we don't know if we can do this. These guys look like they could be brothers."
Mm.
And then Chris was like, "No, let's get him in the room." So we went into the room together to test. And I don't know who, ultimately, I mean, probably the network would have won. Probably Ben would have been cast and I would have not. But as far as Chris was concerned, I was cast and they were trying to round out the rest of who was going to do it. Yeah. So in Chris's world, if they thought I was too brotherly looking, he may have wanted to keep me and keep looking. I don't know, but I think the network probably would have dumped me in a heartbeat because Ben was with all the OC stuff and all that. Like he had a fan following, terrific actor, but also network was like they were in on it. Yeah. So we go in and we. John Levy, who's doing casting, says, "Okay, Michael, you're basically going to be the casting director. You're going to sit, and Ben, it's really Ben's first time they're seeing Ben, so it's going to be his audition, and they just want to see you guys together." I was like, "Okay." So Ben and I get together, and we're going to go through the material a couple times. So we meet, we get along great. We go through the material a couple times, and I said, "Hey, do you got a problem with me getting up and acting it with you?" I said, let's get off book for this shit and let's just fucking kill it. And he's like, "Let's do it." So we do the first scene where he's, I think it's with a different character. I think John's reading with him some other material. He goes through that scene. And then we do another scene with a bunch of us. And then we do the scene, which is the finale of the final scene of the pilot, front row seat to the greatest show on earth thing. Yeah. And and that's been my audition, one of my audition scenes as well prior. So we do it. We go through the whole thing. I stand up and get into it with him. And John's kind of like, what's happening? You know, like, and so we act the scene out. And Terry, I can't think of her last name. She was running the network at the time with her partner, Bruce Brad. Can't think of the guy's name. Schwartz. No, not Schwartz. Anyway, I'm sure I'm going to lose over this. No. He's like, she basically says, and I think we were car A37, and she's like, we finish up and she's like, well, car A37, very nice to meet you both. And we sort of looked at each other and we're just like, did we just get fucking hired in the room?
Oh, that's great, man.
They're like, congratulations, guys, you got it. And you know, like, you don't get hired in a room. No. Like, never know. Like, even if they want to, they don't. Like, it's just you'll get away.
And usually, if you get hired in the room, you end up not getting hired in the room.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. Well, it was a thing, you know. I mean, he got a little excited. It wasn't really.
Yeah.
So we wound up getting hired in the room, and that was probably one of the most creatively free experiences I've ever had, and it that changed me as an actor. Yeah, and what I not only expect from myself, what I expect from a crew, and you know, it almost made me, you know, fearless so far as getting into something and realizing it's different and having the strength and the confidence to change it. Yeah. As you know, is hard. Like, you get into something, you 2 takes, and you're like, oh fuck, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna do what's right. I'm not gonna give you 20 different versions of the fucking wrong thing. We're gonna fix it. No, but you did this well, I guess you're not using that part. Yeah. That was all wrong.
So, and also, it should be said, for those who don't know, this on 99% of sets, they give sides, which are like a miniature script, so the actors in the crew can have it to reference it during scenes. But Southland, they didn't allow sides necessarily, right? Like,
yeah. You could have a big script over on your on your chair or whatever, or in your room. But the idea, Chris, was like, we toil so much to get the script perfect. And then we take it and we cut it up into small little sections and we reduce it, and boom, people stick it in their pocket and they throw it on the floor and they walk on it. And he's like, and then we treat it like shit. Great. So, learn the script, learn all the material, know what you're going to do, come in ready to work.
And did you carry that? Like, I mean, you probably already had that.
Yeah, but it also changes. It really does change the way you work. It really changes the way you work when you're that prepared. And then you also realize as a director how freeing it is when your actors are that prepared. So I'll reach out to my actors, you know, even if they're just series regulars, and go, look, this is what we're doing. I found that the most successful stuff is when everybody comes ready to play. You know, I know you guys will, but I intend on not fixing the script on the day. If you have problems with the script, let's talk about it now before we get on set. And when we're on set, we're going to shoot and we're going to be creative and we're going to have fun. And it's really like, people really respond to that.
Yeah.
Like, really respond to that.
Do you, I know we don't have much longer with you, but do you, now that you're directing,
as much time as you want with me, but
thanks.
Certain stuff out, put in it, like whatever you guys schedule is. But
well, do you think, is there anything that now that you're directing that you kind of glean as an actor? You're like, oh shit, I never even thought about that. I'm seeing all these, for starters, audition tapes, and then I'm working with these actors. Did it give you any insight into your own process, or any traps that people have? Or, I mean, I know you spoke to nerves a lot, but beyond that, like, is there anything?
It's hard because you have a lot of directors who are amazing. So you get in the habit of trusting, and then you get reminded of why you shouldn't trust.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, but I would say, generally speaking, trust. You know, and trust needs to be earned very quickly, but it also needs to be, as an actor, needs to be given very quickly. And you always protect yourself, like listen to the voice in the back of your head, but don't let it override everything. You know, David Nutter's a perfect example. When I was working on Band of Brothers, David had given me this one direction in this scene we were doing where I was worried about my, you know, the company and all the guys behind me. And then there was this tank, you know, I turned my head and there's this tank turning its turret at us. And I yelled to the guys, you know, to run. And David has the camera in front of me. And he's like, okay, when you tell the guys to run, I need you to turn your head directly to camera and yell run. Because I'm going to push in as we do that. You know, and I'm thinking, this doesn't make fucking sense. These are the guys I care about, you know, like my brothers, literal brothers. Yeah. And I want to tell, you know, I need to connect to them. So I would look to them. And David saw that he came over to me. He goes, I know this doesn't feel right for you, but it's a visual medium. It looks great. Yeah. It looks like you're connecting with the guys because what I'm doing is I'm pushing in, you know, and he had this whole elaborate shot set up and a couple other cameras picking up some other angles. And we wound up doing it. And he winds up showing me afterwards. And I was just like, shit. It's not only right, it's incredible.
Right. Yeah.
I learned that it doesn't necessarily matter how I feel about something when I'm given a direction, which is weird. It's a weird thing to give up. You know this. If you trust your director and your director has earned that trust, you're gonna make fucking magic. You know, potentially. Because magic doesn't always follow logic. Yeah. And so if there's anything I learned that, you know, that out of that, it's, well, when you can and when that moment happens, really trust your director because it is such a visual medium. You can be really, really into it with somebody and connecting and doing all, and that's great. Like you had a fucking great little scene. That's awesome. But they are capturing it. And if they are not capturing what you're doing, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And that's great. You're getting paid to make it happen for the people who are watching it.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of a disconnect on that. So like you need to be open to letting that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And also conversely, I think the trust, if like, sometimes you have to kind of like, if you know, like, I know that impetus you feel as an actor. For years ago, I was like, who the fuck would ever want to direct? But then you're around it long enough and you find these impulses and scenes, and it's like, I know how to fix that. Like I'm doing this filming with Theo Rossi and Ron Perlman, and right now in Biloxi, we're doing this scene where like me and Theo were having a timing issue on this like walk and talk, and I was like, I could just prolong the dialogue here, banana boat around. I know how to solve this, you know. And I was like, well, I don't want to I was like, you know what, I'll just do it once. And then they're either going to be like, no, you didn't do it. Why are you doing it? Or they're like, oh, that's it. You know, thankfully I did it once. And they're like, yes, that was it. You know?
Well, usually it's, oh, that's it. But when you do that, hold for a beat, we'll catch up around, like you offer a piece of the puzzle that's solved it. You know, and I always say whenever there's conflict or competing ideas, because I think conflict is fucking great for a creative process. When everyone's just like, okay, whatever, you're kind of like, fuck, no, like push back a little bit on something. Because what happens is I got my idea, you got your idea, you got it. And then the solving thing, the pinnacle of it all is usually a combination of what everybody's been talking about. And then because you've been talking about different things, some other thing that none of you thought about, you're like, holy shit. But it only comes out because you disagreed on something or disagreed on a way to get somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, it happens all the time on set. All the time.
And it only comes from it only comes from caring. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. But that's what it has to all come from. It has to come from everybody wanting to make the story better.
Yeah. Yeah. I was working with a guy not long ago, a star. And he actually was telling, like, listen, he was telling one of the guys, like, listen, it doesn't matter. Get the words out. He was saying this to this guy. Nobody cares. Just get through the beats. And I tried to sit on it. I was like, bro, I go, and he looks at me. I go, what? I go, what are you talking about, dude? It's the only thing that matters. And he's like,
Yeah.
well, no. What I meant was like, yeah. Oh, okay.
I check.
Yeah, exactly. What I meant was, I was trying to get to my stuff quicker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I have an 8 o'clock dinner reservation.
Yeah.
I go.
Brother, people talk about this. I want to hear your perspective on this contraction, because I know that for whatever reason, since the strike, productions are making a little less. I think I know why. I got my theories, but I will tell you this: when people talk about it, I think to myself, now hold on. Think back of like when we were doing Southland. It was like just after the financial. It was that period of time between financial crash and streaming, right? There was like 80% less stuff on TV, right? And I tell you what, but people watched it. I was living in Santa Monica, and I was just doing these little, few little scenes in Southland and guest stars and whatnot. And, a few times a week, people are like, oh, dude, I love you from that thing. My theory is it might not be the worst thing in the world, because maybe in the process, projects become more valued. The artist becomes more valued, because back then you could get a lot more with a lot less if it was good. And back then, right now, even if it's good, you could be sitting next to someone and that's John Doe, the lead of whatever on, Hulu. And it's like, I don't know. It's just too much, Yeah. So what do you think about the contraction, or do you think there is a contraction? Or
I think there's definitely a contraction.
Yeah.
But I think it's all corporate manufactured.
Yep.
Yep. As with all of it, the only power we have is to say no.
Yeah.
That's the only power we have, at the level we're at. I'm not Brad Pitt. You're not Brad Pitt. We're not making, we're not producing a Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
The only power we have is to say no. They have the power to say yes. They are making everything. They control the money. They control the projects. They were all for years in competition as to who is going to have the streamer that came out on top. Netflix was in a situation where they knew that, everybody else was, Disney was going to have its own streamer, Warner's was going to have its own streamer, everybody was going to have their own streamer, so they were not going to have any products to buy. So they're like, fuck this, we need to make a bunch of shit. So they spent a bunch of years just making, everything, and some of it good, some of it bad, some of it phenomenal. And then COVID hit, and all that stuff was being watched. So everything is being consumed, and it was sort of like, oh, look, we did a good thing. We're making money because everybody's watching. Yeah, because people are watching like 8-9 hours a day in every household. They're literally burning through content. And then people started making a lot of money. Actors, directors, everybody. And right now, I think they're in a place where like, okay, the streamers are kind of going away. The things are getting limited because everybody can't watch at that pace. And even more importantly, everyone's not going to pay, $12 a month for each of these different things.
Yep.
So I think everything's going to kind of fold back into, 2 or 3 different things, and then a bunch of free platforms that are advertising supported.
Yep. Everything goes full circle, right?
Yeah. No, 100%.
What a novel idea.
Well, when I was coming up, it was like, networks, networks only have like, a couple more years and they're going to be obsolete. Networks are still, the place to be because it's free TV. And that's advertising supported. It's like that's where most of the eyeballs are. Yeah. Because most of the people don't have access, because they're not paying for it. And that story hasn't changed.
Yeah.
But I think that they have realized, they're in a situation where they're like, we need to, do something industry wide to do a check on all these, in their mind. I think they're like all these creatives. We need to do a check on them and make sure and see if we can try to pull some of the wages down. So we're going to do, we're going to buy into the new model. The new model of the series is, generally speaking, is 10 episodes. It's a cast of 4 series regulars, and then there's 6 reoccurrings. And then there's a cap basically on what we're willing to pay. And they're going to try and ride that for a little while to regroup. The problem is you have companies right now who, like with the strike, the leading companies, you have your Amazon and your Apple and your Netflix. Well, not Netflix in this case, Amazon and Apple, let's say. And they sell watches and dehumidifiers. You know what I mean? Like, it's like if the show didn't do well on Thursday night, it doesn't matter because they're sending out a carton of fucking toilet paper next week. It doesn't matter. So you're like, we're going on a strike and you won't have, and they're like, well, all right, we'll sell more insulated cups, I guess.
Yeah.
It just it literally doesn't fucking matter to them. Apple's like, well, I guess we'll sell more iPads. We'll do an update. Like,
yeah.
Like, they want to be in the business and they want to have fun. But when it comes down to, like, we're going to, the little guy going, well, we're going to screw you or, hold you over the barrel till you, pay us what we're due. They're like, no, you're not. We're going to sell some more of these.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I thought of it as this arms race. Amazon, Netflix, and Apple, and no one was talking to each other, right? No one was talking to each other. And then what happened was the strike gave them an excuse to start talking to each other. And they're like, hey, well, we're kind of looking to cut back. Well, why don't we, instead of trying to outdo each other, let's just cut back together.
And meanwhile, they're all talking about who's going to build the newest, biggest, $8.2 billion studio in Nevada or Utah or Arizona. Or like, and you're like, okay, well, what are you going to be doing there?
Yes.
Right. I mean, you're going to be producing content.
Yeah. So with that said, we'll end on this. What's the good news?
The good news, I think, is that it's the same good news, I think, that we've always known. Everybody knows that everything comes down to story and character. People want to watch good content. This whole thing is going on. All these movies, movies lately are, suck. I'm like, great, because they're not going to make money off movies that suck. So that means they're going to go back and they're going to put time into it, and they're going to start making movies that don't suck, because those are the ones that actually make money and do well. And it's not a Marvel problem, because you can't just go, oh, it's Marvel. Because then you have Iron Man and Deadpool, and you're like, they're character driven. Like, they're only fantastic because, Robert Downey Jr. is a fucking incredible actor, and he's kicking the shit out of Iron Man.
Right.
That's why that movie is great. I mean, on top of everybody executes at 100% well, but that movie doesn't exist if you don't have an incredible Iron Man. Same thing with Deadpool. It doesn't exist if Ryan Reynolds is not kicking the shit out of it.
Yeah.
So the thing is like, do it, but do it well. Yeah. And don't get lost in the Transformers of all of it, where, we can do it all with, it can all be big and, this and that. Like, we did that on Band of Brothers. You know what? For 4 episodes, like, we blew a whole bunch of shit up. And then after a while, you literally don't care. You care when it goes back to the guy in the trench and you see his face. Right. He's talking to his buddy and they're sharing a fucking cigarette and talking about home. You're like, oh, it's not the big shit. It's this. It's the human connection. And as long as you have that human connection and you make stories and write scripts and build movies that have amazing stories with amazing content that connects to people, you're going to be fine. And I think that's what it's going to come back to. It's going to come back to, there are going to be some more, not just independent movies that have, very small budgets. You can have medium-sized budget movies that are great movies that people love to go watch. And then everybody's going to make money, and they know that. They know where the money is. The money's in movies that people go to see. Right. It's not in any specific genre. It's what makes money. A movie that people saw.
Yeah.
Those things have in common. Great stories and great characters that we get. Yep.
Yep.
And that's not new. It's like as old as theater itself.
Yep. And every year it's the Moonlights. It's these these smaller stories that are just quintessential, relationships and character and brother, thank you. I love you, man. You're the best. I really appreciate you taking the time.
You're great. We were a little rambly today, but ride-wise, but it was good.
Oh, it's good, man. It's good. I really, really appreciate you, buddy. You're someone I've always looked up to, and you're so good to me when we worked on Southland. And I'm always rooting for you, man.
Thank you. I say hello to Ron and Theo. I just saw them like 3 weeks ago at a convention.
Okay, I will. I'm gonna go upset and watch a little bit.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Ron gets here.
Good to see you guys. Appreciate you.
A few days. But all right, man. See you soon, bub.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, guys.